how much more proof do we need that Donald Trump is in the pocket of Vladimir Putin? How much more proof does Congress need of that fact? Folks, we are in a hell of a mess. And the only way out that I see is through the 2018 and 2020 elections. One, in 2018, we must flip the House of Representatives. Number two, in 2020, we must get Donald Trump out of office and hopefully flip the Senate. Now, I say all these things because I honestly in my heart believe that Vladimir Putin has Donald Trump in his hip pocket. Now, we have no way of knowing what kind of communications go on between Putin and Trump, because those communications are not made privy to the public. And these two guys could be talking every day. And Putin could be giving Donald Trump his marching orders every single day, and we wouldn't know it. Now, let's go back to the basics. If Vladimir Putin had his way, what would be some of the things that he would want done? Number one, he would want to weaken NATO. Probably number two, he would want sanctions removed. And number three, he would want to destabilize the USA as much as possible. Now, I will submit to you that through his manipulation of Donald Trump, he is at least accomplishing numbers 2 and 3. He has started to destabilize America through election interference via the utilization of social media, i.e. Facebook and Twitter, to have Americans pitted one group against another. Now, Facebook and Twitter initially would not recognize the fact that their platforms were being manipulated by the Russians, but even they had to admit that the Russians were deep in there and doing stuff that should not have been allowed. So there you have the destabilization portion being enacted. Now, Trump directly didn't do this, but indirectly he has supported it because he has done nothing to stop this. The Secretary of State, I believe, was appropriated approximately $100 million by the previous Obama administration in order to combat the Russian interference in our elections. And as has been recently revealed, the State Department has not spent one dime in order to do so. Why is that? Why hasn't Rex Tillerson done something to help protect the American people? More than likely because of two things. One, he does have a relationship with Vladimir Putin as well, although it's not been so much publicly promoted. Number two, Donald Trump is his boss, and he probably would have come to Trump with any ideas, if he had any, of how to spend that money, and Trump probably told him, don't worry about it, he'll take care of it, and shut him down. So that all goes to the destabilization of America. Let's talk about the weakening of NATO. with all the stuff that Russia has done against us, we have not done one thing under the Trump administration to fight back. Sanctions were approved by Congress, but Donald Trump refuses to put them into play. To make it even worse, our allies, instead of being supported, are being attacked. How, you say? Because of this coming trade war, the tariffs that Donald Trump is enacting on steel and on aluminum. Our single biggest trading partner is Canada, and they provide us the majority. They provide us more aluminum and steel than any other country. So if you are going to institute tariffs, the number one country that's going to be hurt is going to be Canada. Now, instead of imposing tariffs, what Trump should have done, if he was quote unquote so interested in going after China, was imposing quotas and giving China a zero quota, and any country that China transships to a zero quota on aluminum and steel. But no, Donald Trump does exactly the opposite, imposing across-the-board tariffs on our European allies, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, etc. This is not going to hurt China so much as it's going to hurt our allies. And obviously, if an action is taken against you, you are going to respond, and the allies are. Canada is talking about imposing tariffs on wine, which is a huge industry here. Europe is talking about imposing tariffs on motorcycles and various other commodities. I believe bourbon is one of them, and there's another one that they specifically mentioned. Donald Trump then has stated that if they do in fact impose tariffs on those items, that we will in turn, for Europe at least, impose tariffs on cars. All this is going to do is escalate. All this is going to do is drive a wedge between America and its allies. All that does is make Vladimir Putin happier than a pig in slop. Now, the third item, sanctions removed, the only reason that that wasn't done was because of the interaction between Trump, his campaign people he had put in place, and the Russians. It was discovered too early for him to have had the opportunity to remove the sanctions. But that's the third leg on this chair. And if for some reason Trump is able to remove the sanctions, Vladimir Putin has hit a grand slam home run. Now, I believe under the destabilization portion that I've mentioned, that Trump has done everything pretty much in his power in the effort to destabilize America and make Vladimir Putin and Russia stronger. You could start with the fact that Trump has placed various secretaries within his cabinet in positions to destroy the agencies that they control. I'm talking about HUD with Ben Carson accepting massive cuts on various housing programs that help the poor. Okay, I'm talking about Rex Tillerson, who basically has not filled any of his undersecretary positions, and there are a huge number of ambassadorships that have remained unfilled, including the one to South Korea. And if there's one ambassador that we absolutely should have at this point, it's the ambassador to South Korea. I'm talking about the EPA, where they are getting rid of various regulations throughout the country that affect the health and safety of the American people, specifically, on things to do with clean water and clean air. Okay, I'm talking about the Secretary of Education, who is cutting back on educational monies to the various states and cities. I'm talking about a lot of the other secretaries that are within the cabinet. You're talking about the Secretary of the Interior. You're talking about the action that Trump just took and gave that secretary his marching orders on, as far as lifting the ban on imported elephant parts, tusks, hides, etc., which Obama had put in place. Now, if you weren't aware of it, there are two countries that allow big game hunting, Zimbabwe and I can't remember the name of the other country. But because of our ban on allowing big game trophies to be brought into the country, that has helped to cut down on the amount of hunting of elephants. Now, the elephant population in those countries is down approximately 90%. And if we don't do something, the elephant is going to basically go the way of the dodo. But Donald Trump's sons love big game hunting, so Trump Jr. Specifically lined up Zinke to be the head of that particular department, and I'm assuming he got a commitment for the lifting of the ban on the importation of trophy animals, and specifically elephants. So that's just another example of us acting against the better nature of people, both in this country and throughout the world. Ecologists are going crazy about this right now, but these people don't seem to give a damn. They are acting against the interest of America. But let's go further. Yeah, I stated previously that positions throughout the government are not being filled, specifically ambassadors and undersecretaries, assistant secretaries to various departments, specifically in the Department of the Defense, not so much there, but the State Department primarily. Taking that a step further, they are on a quote-unquote, I hate to use the term, probably won't, they are on a hunt to get rid of the experienced people that help to run these departments. And I point specifically to the FBI, where you have a ton of career FBI agents that are leaving and not being replaced. State Department, ton of people leaving and not being replaced. Gary Cohn, okay, who is the president's, or was, he's got 2 weeks, I guess, top economic advisor, pushed back against Donald Trump on this tariff position. But you had Wilbur Ross, who was the Secretary of Commerce, and Peter Navarro, who is the top administrator on trade, who neither one of them could hold Gary Cohn's jockstrap as far as knowledge about the economies and economic world, both the U.S. economic system, how it operates, and the world economy. Neither one, I will repeat, could hold Gary Cohn's jockstrap. Well, Donald Trump decided that he wanted to fight, and lo and behold, Wilbur Ross waltzes into his office and gives him the perfect fight, since Donald Trump was an anti-trade person to begin with. Well, Gary decided that he would not be able to sit still for that, and the only thing that would have satisfied him was being given the chief of staff job. And since that position is currently filled, he decided to jump ship. Now, he didn't jump ship because of the anti-Semitic comments in Charlottesville that Donald Trump made, although he's a Jew. He jumped ship over tariffs. I don't know, folks. You know, you figure that one out for yourself. But let's look what else Donald Trump has done for the Russians. He's leaked intelligence secrets that we had received from Israel, and he did it in such a cavalier manner that people were aghast when he did it. He's done nothing to prevent the reoccurrence of the election interference. He has allowed security risk personnel to access top secret information within the White House, specifically his son-in-law Jared Kushner and Rob Porter, who could get a top secret security clearance. And I believe there are 58 other individuals who have had their security clearances either completely removed or downgraded to bare minimums. Donald Trump has also supported racial strife within his country, specifically with his appointment of Jefferson Beauregard Sessions and his various comments about neo-Nazis, etc. And those are well documented. He's also tried to dumb down the people. How can he do that? Well, he appointed Ajit Pai over the FCC, and Mr. Pai is a proponent of anti-net neutrality. Translation, he wants to severely limit the amount of information that the American people can obtain freely and quickly. Net neutrality means that every site has an equal right as far as its accessibility on the internet. And what Mr. Pai wants to do is he wants to change that so that the internet service providers can basically decide winners and losers as to how quickly and easily you can access information if you're doing research trying to get information. So again, folks, Donald Trump is in Vladimir Putin's hand. We have all the information we need. I can only pray that Mueller can complete his investigation as quickly as possible, get it into Congress, either now or after the 2018 elections. Hopefully it will be now, and you would have some Republicans who would have the balls to stand up for the American people rather than to try to hang on to power. If something isn't done soon, and I do mean soon, America is going to go to hell in a handbasket. Vladimir Putin is sitting up there laughing. China is sitting up there laughing because the sanctions really at this point are not going to affect them all that much. But the principal goal of weakening NATO and destabilizing America is well underway, and if it continues much further, we're going to be sitting in a world surrounded by either enemies or people who no longer consider themselves our ally.